This is Secrets to Win Big, your roadmap to sustained growth. Brought to you by Arjun Sen, founder and CEO of Zen Mango, top brand growth driver, and a former Fortune 500 executive who has been called one of the most marketing intelligent minds in the business. Find him at zenmango.com. And now, here's your host, Arjun Sen.
Hi, this is Arjun Sen, welcoming you to a very special edition of Secrets to Win Big. In our journey to win big, there is one certainty, and the certainty is the uncertainty of tomorrow. However much we prepare, we do not know what tomorrow will bring, and how we overcome those uncertainties, how prepared we are, that is what makes us successful. And one of the big areas is crisis and how we navigate through crisis. Anytime there's a crisis, I remind myself of the numerous times I got into trouble when I was growing up. So there are three things to start with I look at. One, remember people's attention span. I have created a table for different crises, from a president having an affair in White House to a senator traveling outside the country with his mistress, other news stories, and things stay in people's mindset for a short period of time, which is very important to know. Second, crisis happens based on how we react to things. I don't know about you, but for me, when I did something goofy, that didn't get me into trouble with my parents. But what I did following that, that's what got me into trouble. And finally, I feel that every crisis is a PR opportunity. I'll get into that in details. Now, if you look at some of the big events recently, which are top of mind crisis events, are Chipotle having the E. coli outbreak, Papa John's founder of the company caught in a controversy of using the N-word in a meeting, United Airlines dragging Dr. David out of the plane, Tiger Woods being in a car accident. And that last one is very personal to me because, we all can have human moments. Now, as I look at any of these situations, what I have seen, and it has worked beautifully and brilliantly, is first and foremost, if you haven't watched this movie called Be Cool with John Travolta, just watch the movie. It tells you one of the biggest and the coolest lessons ever, which only John Travolta can deliver. In that movie, he tells you, and I think he's talking to me when he looks at the camera and says, I will tell you what you need to know, maybe less. That is so powerful. And that to me is rule number one for any crisis PR. In fact, any PR is share less. Think, when Tiger Woods was in the car accident and every possible person was putting different pieces of news out there, one of the pieces of news came within 5 hours of the accident was the jaws of life were used to extract him from the car. Of course, Tiger's PR team knew that's not true. So they had the urge to come and correct. But there was two reasons why they made the right decision not to come and correct. One, if they came and said that didn't happen, they would have put themselves in a position that we know everything, which means what else do you know that we do not know? And second, at that point, for Tiger to heal, was that information important? No. Just trust. When one media makes a mistake, another media, let them get the credit to correct it. And that's what happened. Second, lead, not react. This is very important. In any PR crisis happens on how you react. You really have to look at where you want to go with the story and what pieces of message do you want to put in that particular place. United Airlines, when they dragged Dr. David out of the plane, first thing is they should right away have gone and evaluated. What they did was, for the convenience of the other nearly 200 passengers, and the flight would have got more delayed, they triggered this extraction. And what they didn't understand that each one of us are news reporters because we have a cell phone, we can upload things right away. So that's a training opportunity to showcase. I would rather cause small problem to a lot of people than one big problem to one person. And secondly, how does it look in the media? The story of a United Airlines flight getting delayed by an hour is not that big a news as a visual of Dr. David getting dragged out of the plane. And once that happens, they should have led and said, unconditional apology and will not happen again. That's it. You're putting a process in place, evaluate, and come back. There's nothing more. Number 3, there has to be clear, consistent sound bites. You really have to think about specific things that you say that will resonate. In Tiger's case, when the media started picking up what one of the first responders, this amazing first responder who was there first, and his time and his wisdom saved Tiger's life. He talked about Tiger was very clear in his communication. And that was something the media picked up. So it's very important to look at what words do you use in a crisis that becomes important. In case of Papa John's, the founder of the company who was caught in the controversy, he reacted. And when you react and you keep changing reactions, it becomes dangerous. Which means, what else are you not telling me? First, there was denial. Then there was justification. Then there was more justification. It doesn't work, which takes me to rule number 4. Is plan the beginning and the end. It's all related. It's literally everything is the same thing. Lead, not react. Like, plan, where am I going to take this? And after a point, I'm not going to touch this anymore. With my parents, when I would get into trouble, I just knew it was consequence minimization plan, which means after some time, just keeping quiet, facing the consequences, whether it is grounding or a few smacks, take it. Don't extend it by being inconsistent. And finally, you remember at the very beginning, I talked about every crisis has a PR gain opportunity. If we can build and take it from past on what happened to what we can do in future and make people participate, now that is where the PR opportunity is. If Chipotle had created an industry coalition on how future E. coli breaks can be prevented, and if it happens, how do we communicate? It would have communicated that this can happen to any restaurant. That would have been a big story. If Papa John's had tried to create for management team members for all companies an awareness program, they would have made it broader. The solution that Papa John's found, the very fact they had their founder in a controversy with the N-word to find a cool, there's nothing personal against you, Shaq, but the African-American star. And maybe he was the only person available immediately. I don't know. But put him there to show that we don't have any racial insensitive problems. Come on. We are little smarter than that. It takes a little more thinking to build this and create a solution. So to wrap up, there are 2 pieces of advice I would give you. One, you really need the right team. And the team should have 4 individuals or 4 kinds of people. One is a strategy person. Strategy is a person like me who thinks every possible scenario. And I'll share with you how I think in a second. Second, you need a spokesperson. The strategy person does not have to be the spokesperson. The spokesperson is very disciplined. He or she is the face of the brand and only communicates purposefully. No surprises. You need a PR agency to get you in front of others. And finally, the rest of the organization needs to support the spokesperson and the strategy. Not everybody, including the CEO of the company, can become a PR person. Everybody else's job is to refer any questions to the spokesperson and the strategy team. So, from a process, anytime there's a crisis, the first I look at what is the origin of the crisis? What is the real story there? Who, why? And then I get into the media response. Who is talking about it? Why are they talking about it? How long do we think they will carry this on? And secondly, are they generalizing it or are they making it very focused on a person? In case of Papa John's, the whole thing was about the founder. Papa John's did a brilliant job by not making it about all our senior management team are insensitive. They could have very easily said something goofy and then it would have been a bigger problem. They didn't. The third thing I always look at is what is the worst case scenario? What happens if we do nothing? I used to look at this every time I got into trouble. Like getting into trouble growing up taught me crisis fear. There were times I would just feel, just stand there, don't say anything. Why do you do it? I don't know. Then worked even better than I don't know. And that forced my parents to get to consequence mode and get it over with sooner. And as you do the worst case scenario, you also have to ask yourself, what can we do to make it worse? And don't do that thing. The very fact we can respond does not mean we should respond. The very fact we can add and share facts does not mean we should add or share facts. Containing it is very important. Justification does not help. It opens new doors and makes it a bigger crisis. And finally, thinking ahead is very important. All these processes, everything else doesn't work when you're in a crisis to start a crisis management plan. It's very important ahead of time to put all these people in place, all the processes in place, and have a company-wide awareness. If any of these things happen, right away it goes to the strategy person and the spokesperson. It's truly an honor and a pleasure to share this because there's no crisis. We create a crisis after something unfortunate happens. I hope this helps, and your journey in the business world, as you keep winning big and bigger, you include a plan for crisis management. Just like you have a risk management plan, you also must have a crisis management plan. Thank you for listening to Secrets to Win Big with Arjun Sen. Truly a pleasure to share.
You've been listening to Secrets to Win Big with Arjun Sen, founder and CEO of Zen Mango, top brand growth driver, and a former Fortune 500 executive who has been called one of the most marketing intelligent minds in the business. To learn more, visit www.zenmango.com. Share this podcast with your friends and subscribe wherever you like to listen to podcasts.